Josh Lloyd is one of the most beloved figures in the fantasy basketball community. When you look up NBA fantasy, literally his face will pop up in your search. In this episode, we're going to do a reaction to his top 25 fantasy basketball players. We believe every NBA fan should play fantasy basketball. So I'll start by saying we have never done an episode like this. I've done a reaction to like some NBA content before, and it wasn't really very intentional. We've never done a reaction to fantasy basketball content. So about a year ago, I was a guest on Josh's show, and I asked him, would you be okay if I did reactions to some of your videos? And in passing, he said yes. I let time go by. I never did the reaction video. And then when I saw this one, I was like, this is the one I want to do the video to. And I sent them a message on Twitter. I was like, hey, just wanted to follow up on that thing I asked you about last year. Do I still have your blessing to do that? And he said, of course. So Josh gave his approval to do this episode. So I'm not here trying to like hate on him. This is obviously a guy that I look up to, and honestly, many would consider the GOAT of the fantasy basketball content creation space. So I want to be very, very upfront about that this is me trying to just start dialogue around different opinions when it comes to this stuff. We'll dig deeper as we get through the episode.
Let's rank the top 25 fantasy basketball players for the 25-26 NBA season. Michael Bolton comes in at number 27.
Now, Michael Bolton at 27. Come on, man. We got to go higher than that. Come on now.
Michael Bolton here.
If you are a member at Basketball Monster, you will say, hey, how come these numbers, these rankings don't match up the projections you see? It's because the projections and the rankings that appear on Basketball Monster are based on individual stat projections that I make. These numbers that I'm putting here, or these lists that I'm putting here, are a little bit more of me chucking some gut feel stuff into it. So
I wanted to point that out. I think many times in this space, because it's a very analytical space, right? Oftentimes we let the data tell the entire story, when in fact, especially when we're thinking about projecting for the next season, it's a part of the story. So I love that Josh pointed out that he uses a little bit of gut feeling on this as well.
Another thing that I will put out before we do this is that for a large portion of this, there are easy arguments to make for so many players to be moved around. I'll look at this list and I'll come back to it in a week and I'll go, probably should move him up. Probably should move him down. Because, and we'll talk about as we go through, but the guy that's at number 11 could probably go at 7, or he could probably go at 19. And I will, again, I think I know that you guys are going to like this show, but I also think that there is a level of, we hyper-focus so much on the first and second round. And I will do a show on pairing because I know you guys like that. And it'll be littered saying, don't worry about it as much as you do. This is your focus needs to be on understanding that there is never a one correct answer.
Ooh.
You can make...
Josh got bars. Oh, that's good. Listen, and it's all for fun, right? I always joke all the time and I say like, oh, you disagree, you're angry, your imaginary team, your opinion about your imaginary team is different than my opinion about my imaginary team that I, play with on my telephone. Sorry, right? But this is a good point that people are entitled to have their opinions on this stuff. Now, there might be some like troll level opinions, right? Like nobody's going to be out here like, hey, I think Jared McCain is going to finish top 5. Nobody's going to say that, right? And if they do, they might be trolling. But generally, we want to make sure that we can welcome a, healthy dialogue around this stuff. Love that quote.
An overall correct, say a pie. Let's use that analogy. You can bake a pie, which is your fantasy team. But an apple pie is delicious. Maybe you like a banoffee pie. Maybe it's blueberry.
Yo, your man said a banoffee pie? Can somebody Google banoffee pie? Josh, is that an Australian thing? That is wild, yo. Your man said the banoffee pie.
The ingredients that go in there, and they're different, obviously, depending on what other ingredients are in there. But overall, you still come out with a good pie. And I think that's how we should look at fantasy. Whether you think that this guy's 15, he should be 90, that's ridiculous. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you...
Ooh, your man said it doesn't matter. Like The Rock. That's good. It's just pie. It's just pie, guys. Like, I love that. I love that analogy.
Just make certain adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
The key to winning is hitting the guys that sort of pop off out of nowhere, or you not out of nowhere because you might know that they're going to do it, and avoiding some things that sometimes you can't help, like injuries. You can't help it sometimes.
It's also worth noting that Josh is going to break down Yahoo and ESPN rankings. We're just going to focus on Yahoo for this episode. And if you want us to do ESPN, just let us know.
Well, rankings and different lists of players. Again, some of this, we know that points leagues are a head-to-head based thing. So playoff situations, weekly variance, availabilities are all come into play. And the scoring system is different on the two. We're starting with Yahoo. At number 1, I do have Nikola Jokic again. Right? I don't think that's crazy. 2 is Wemby. 3 is Giannis. 4, I've got Luka Doncic. Luka is going to be great. And again, interchange these guys however you want. Base it on playoff schedule, base it on whatever you.
I agree with that. I think this top 5 is pretty interchangeable. I think I do like the list. I would probably be a little higher on SGA here.
Feel like base it on your favorite team, base it on your favorite player, base it on I don't care. Shea obviously is the other guy I've got at 5. So he's lower to me in points league Shea than what he is in category leagues. But whatever, man. Any of these guys, I've got no problem with how you want to deal with this top 5 for most formats. Points, Roto, head-to-head category again, except I moved Giannis down for Roto, as we know. At number 6 for Yahoo points, I've got Trae Young. I am very bullish on Trae Young's points league projections for this upcoming season. Very bullish. So I've got him at 6. Cool.
So this is one of those players that I'm a bit lower on, and I'll tell you why. So for Trae last year, I think he finished at like 14. And although I think he's going to have a good season, right? I'm here in the Atlanta area. I like when Trae does well. I think that 6 is kind of a reach because with Porzingis health, if Porzingis is healthy, right, he's going to require, some usage. Then we have Jalen Johnson. If in fact he's healthy, we'll talk more about him in a minute. But if he's healthy, again, that's another one. Your man last year, Jalen Johnson only played 36 games. So if he plays a full season, that will also, require some usage, and he'll have the ball in his hand and he'll, put up some buckets. Will Trae get an increase in assists? Probably. He's been consistent with his assists. So if he's been consistently distributing the ball, he's been consistently scoring. I don't know what scenario besides a staggering injury to the Atlanta Hawks, starting lineup would equate to him having a double jump essentially in value for points league. So for this one, I am out on Trae Young at 6.
Cade at 7. Anthony Edwards at 8. Anthony Davis at 9. And yes, that is Josh Giddey you see there at number 10. You'll also notice on these.
We're going to let Josh finish, but we're going to come back to 7, 8, 9, and 10. We'll let Josh go. Go ahead, Josh.
Yahoo points. I do have the ESPN ranking because just because it's Yahoo points doesn't mean that the league has to be hosted on Yahoo. It's just using Yahoo scoring format. You can host them on ESPN, and the ADPs or ranks on ESPN or the ranks would correspond to ESPN's point scoring system. You can very easily go into an ESPN league and set it up to be Yahoo scoring if that's the platform that you prefer. So that's why I've got it there. But ESPN is the only one of these that changes their ranks between categories and points, which, again, I can shit on them as much as I want because they're bad. Also, speaking of shitting on, Sleeper, you're terrible. Fix your product.
Yo, Josh, you went left really quick on that one. Jeez Louise. What did Sleeper do? Come on, Josh. Josh was totally... Your man was talking about ESPN and Yahoo and just had a hard pivot to trashing Sleeper. Let me address that really quick. So I know that many of the analysts and just community members in the fantasy basketball realm despise Sleeper. I am not one of those people. I'm a very, very open-minded individual when it comes to sleepers specifically. There are some things that I'm not as open-minded about, but sleeper is one that I am. If you guys don't know sleeper, basically it's known as a fantasy football app, and they released their fantasy basketball product a few years ago. Josh is saying fix their product because he sees flaws in it. For me, I like the idea that they have a unique product. They don't offer category league options, they do not offer roto league options, and they do not offer traditional points league options. They have their own game, which is called lock in mode. And again, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty dope. There are flaws in it, but there are flaws in all of the games. Category leagues are flawed, points leagues are flawed. So for me, I am all in on sleeper. If you guys want to play on sleeper or play on sleeper, just let me know, and we'll cook up some more content for you. But I thought that was funny how he pivoted so hard.
But at least they do this right by providing those two different lists. And we can disagree with the lists, we can disagree with where their position players, but I think that we can agree that having separation between the two major different formats is a good way to do it. So yeah, I do have Josh Giddey at number 10. On Yahoo, he's ranked 35. On ESPN Points Leagues, he's ranked 47. I could be way off in this. And again, you know that I am not that high on Josh Giddey. I don't think he's that good of a player. I think that the Bulls are locking themselves into mediocrity, which they love doing. I think that what Josh Giddey did end of last season, there was a lot of fakeness to it. And that is all reflected in my projections. And I still think he's going to be pretty good. And if I'm in a dynasty league, I'm selling like right now, because eventually the team won't be catered around Josh Giddey. And it won't last, I don't think.
Okay, so let's talk about Josh Giddey. So I don't think Josh Giddey should be 10 on this list, on any list, but I respect Josh's opinion, obviously. As you can see there, he has the current rank for Josh Giddey on Yahoo at 35, for Fantrax 31, and then for ESPN 47. So Josh Giddey, there is an obscene amount of hype around Josh Giddey. I think it tied into the fact that his contract negotiations took a long time, longer than many of the free agents. So people were waiting for that domino to fall, right? So when he finally secured his deal online, I was just seeing people in the fantasy basketball community jump out the freaking window. Like, oh, he signed a deal. 4 years, $100 million. That's it. Like, he's going to be one of the top fantasy basketball producers. He finished so strong at the end of last season that will carry over into this season. And I'm like, what? Where they do that at? An indicator for me when I need to like put a red flag on something is when there is crazy hype around a player out of the blue, and it's not related to long-term, consistent production. If you have like lightning in a bottle type production, yo, I'm not about to make you my top 10 guy. So for me, for that reason, I'm out on Josh Giddey. And the data argument could be there. And I get the end of last season, he produced at a high level. However, for me, the question marks around, yo, what is it going to look like? Can I see a full season of top 15, top 20 Giddey before I make him top 10? And that's kind of where I am. So when I see alarming things like this, where some would run to it like, oh my God, fire, let's run to the fire. Like, that's interesting. I'm always like, nah, like, who's at 11 or 12 and would I rather have them? Would I rather have who's at 9 or 8 versus who is 10 on this list? So again, I respect Josh's opinion for anything he does, because again, he's my guy. But for this one, I am gonna stay clear of this. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I could be like, he might be a top 5 player. A few years ago, you could have probably said the same thing about SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like, hey, he's going to be top 10. And people would have been like, you're crazy. He's not. And then he jumped into the top 10. So most fantasy basketball players do not start out in the top 10, right? Victor Wembanyama had a really strong start to his career as a fantasy basketball player, but it's rare. People usually work up to it. So let's see if Josh Giddey does it. For me, I'm out on Josh Giddey at 10.
Number 11, I've got Paulo Banchero. If you wanted to take Paulo ahead of Giddy, go for it. Not that fast. Şengün, I've got at 12. And you'll notice here some of these ranking numbers, like especially the Fantrax ADP, is like very different here. And Fantrax leans more categories and points as well. But remember this when you're drafting. Şengün 12, Jim Harden 13, Devin Booker coming in at 14 for Yahoo points, and I've got Sabonis at 15. So he's higher in points leagues and category leagues, but still not reflective. Like, why is he ranked 6th on ESPN? What are we actually doing? Something crazy, I believe. The final 10 of this Yahoo Points League top 25, I've got Towns at 16.
Let's go back
now,
really quick.
Again, final 10, something crazy, I believe.
Okay. So for Paolo, that's a little early for me, but it's okay. I'm not mad at that. Şengün, I want to be there with Josh on this one. I'm watching him in EuroLeague. I'm a big Şengün guy, especially for points leagues, but 12 is high for me. I don't have him that high. For points leagues last year, he finished at about 22. And right now, it looks like Yahoo has him at 16, Fantrax has him at 30, and ESPN has him at 29. I am not going to draft Alperen Şengün in the first round. I'm just not going to do it. I will be open to taking him in the second round, and this does make me want to take a look at my rankings and consider moving him up. So currently, right now, I have Şengün at 26, which looking at this, I might want to make an adjustment. And again, this is what this is all about. It's about analyzing the data, analyzing trusted sources, making your adjustments. So I'm okay with saying I might be a little low on Şengün, but I'm not K2, bath salt, Method Man and Red Man high on Şengün to put him in the first round. I am willing to move him up from 26. At number 13, we have James Harden. I'm fine with that. Devin Booker, I'd be slightly higher. I'd probably have him up at like 13. And then Sabonis, I'm way higher on. Yahoo has Sabonis at 9. Fantrax has him at 17. And ESPN has him at 6. So, for points leagues, I think that he'll do a little better than 15. I'm not jumping out the window on Sabonis, but I definitely think he's a little higher than 15. Let's get back to Josh.
The final 10 of this Yahoo Points League top 25, I've got Towns at 16. Now, again, Towns is ranked way higher than this, but even last season, he wasn't that good in points leagues. So I don't know why we'd be looking at him at number 10. I've got Jalen Johnson, 17, Tyrese Maxey, 18, Scotty Barnes, 19, Evan Mobley, 20. You will notice there is a decent amount of similarity between the category league rankings and the points league rankings. There are some outliers. There are some polar bears in Arlington, Texas, Paulo Banchero, but it's not that different. Let's look at the last grouping now of 5 names for the Yahoo points.
So let's go back really quick and talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. So according to hashtag basketball's default rankings from last year, he finished at 9, right? So Yahoo has him at 10. Fantrax has him at 9. ESPN has him at 12. I don't know what's up with this. For me, Karl-Anthony Towns at 16, and it might be like data stuff. So I know for hashtag basketball's default settings, it's Yahoo, but I think they give like a half a point extra for turnovers or something like that. It's something that's a little wonky, but it's generally what I'm going by on this. And also just my experience with Karl-Anthony Towns last season. So I'm okay with taking him way higher than this. I'm okay with taking him in the top 12. But again, I'm not mad at this number that Josh shared. Now, Jalen Johnson, I'm not drafting Jalen Johnson in this area. I would take him a little later. And a lot of it has to do with health concerns. Your man don't play. He don't play. Last season, he played 36 games. Season before that, he played 56 games. So we are hype about Jalen Johnson, very similar to the Josh Giddey, right? People are like, oh my God, Josh Giddey. People are like, Jalen Johnson. How are we hyped about Jalen Johnson and the dude just don't play? If he's healthy, maybe Jalen Johnson will perform on this level because last season on a per game basis, according to hashtag basketball, he was number 16. So 17 is not a stretch, but my concern about him is his health. 18 for Maxey is okay. 19 for Barnes, maybe a little high for me, and 20 for Mobley. I'm not mad at that at all.
There are some outliers. There are some polar bears in Arlington, Texas, Paulo Banchero, but it's not that different. So let's look at the last grouping now of 5 names for the Yahoo Points top 25. Some familiar names: 21, Amen Thompson; 22, Donovan Mitchell; Kevin Durant's at 23. Now, Durant is just nowhere near as good in points leagues as category leagues at this point in his career. You can look at the numbers from last season. It's the same story. So don't be like, as much as we look at him at 31 on Yahoo, and it is a pretty low ranking, he's not as valuable in this sort of a format. So it's a little bit closer to where it needs to be. On ESPN, he sits at 20. I've got Pascal Siakam, a new name that you haven't seen yet here. I'm not as interested in him in a category league format. And there is a risk of Indiana having some weirdness in the season, but they're not typically a team that's ever really tanked. So I think he'll be okay there. And the last name I'm slotting in at number 25 is Bam Adebayo, who, again, you can see that he's ranked there in round 4, round 3 on ESPN, or round 4, depending on if it's a 10-man league. I do think that Bam in a points league makes a little bit of sense here. I think his usage will be pretty strong. I think him playing next to Kel'el Ware probably helps him a little bit because he's not like he blocks shots anyway. It allows him to do a little bit more perimeter-wise, and his three-point shooting was strong second half or last 2/3 of the year, much better. So I've got Bam at number 25. You'll notice that Steph Curry is not in the top 25 for me for Yahoo points leagues. Deliberately, I just don't think he scores that many fantasy points. So we don't have him there. Relatively, I mean, that's a straightforward concept. I hope it is.
So for this 21 through 25, I'm fine with this with the exception of Amen Thompson. I'd probably be a little lower on him. Yahoo has him at 38. Fantrax has him at 26. ESPN has him at 36. Pascal Siakam, I'd probably have a little lower too. And I'd like to see Steph Curry actually in the top 25. Now that you know Josh's top 25, check out this playlist with all of our rankings.